Hey, hey.
Hello? Hello.
Hi.
Oh, we're dropping some frames. Why are we dropping frames? I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay. Hello and welcome to the Mixing Music Podcast stream. We are on Twitch. And we're going to wait. We're going to start recording the podcast. And we're going to start trying to do this a lot more interactive from now on. And we're not going to make Q&A episodes as much as we're just going to incorporate some Q&A in the middle of recording our podcast episode. So as you know, as some of y'all know, we record our podcasts Monday afternoons at this time at 2:30. We release them Tuesday morning on 6 a.m. Eastern Time, 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and make it available on Tuesday morning. So what we're doing is we're just going to record the podcast live, and so we can answer any questions or anything that anybody might have. So that's kind of it. We have everything going. I think we have Twitch running correctly.
We think
We might have to end the stream
on this one.
Looks like we're dropping some frames, so I might have to switch some stuff. We might have to shut it down for a second and then bring it back up.
We'll see how it's going so far.
Yeah, we're dropping some frames. Looks okay, though. I mean, it looks fine.
I mean, we could be dropping some bass.
So, but yeah, if there's any issues with the audio, please let us know. Is that cool? Let me, hold on. Let's do this too.
So how are you guys doing? Honestly speaking, what do you think of my mug? This is a cool ass little mug. And I'm just drinking coffee. What are you guys doing? I want to see what you guys are doing in the comments. By the way, this is actually kind of cool. Me and DK both became affiliates on Twitch, which means that if you guys wanted to support us, if you guys wanted to get more info, you guys could check us out on Twitch. We've got tons of DK does mix reviews. I do some mixing for my clients on Twitch. DK's been doing actually a pretty wide variety of things. He's been doing some study with me, watch with me kind of stuff. Stuff that I'm just learning is a thing. But if you guys are looking for more resources that are free, we've got a bunch online.
What up, J Rush? It's 12 p.m. I'm at work. Oh, that sucks. So are we. We're at work too, huh?
But here's the cool thing. I like to think that we made your workday a little better.
Yeah, you can just listen to us while we're talking. I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna hear this content tomorrow too. So
that's true. If you miss any of this, you could also play us on playback at work tomorrow.
I hate Instagram so much.
I wonder if Instagram feels the same way.
And then I moved the camera
he said,
again.
Of course, we made his workday better.
Yay!
All right.
I'm glad that we're making your day better. Because honestly,
we don't know if we are.
The only reason why we do any of this BS is to help people out. So.
But What is it? The more you give, the more you get in return. But the idea is to give first.
Yeah, sure.
Anything.
Yeah.
Like, even then, should you expect anything?
Yeah, we're not expecting anything. Who else is in the chat? Come say hi to us. What up, J Rush? We're live. What up, Slice Music?
Ooh.
Thanks for coming into the podcast. We're just starting a little bit earlier. So around 2:30, we're actually going to start the show, and we'll be looking at your comments while we're recording the podcast. And this is the format that we'll be doing from now on, hopefully, as long as this is working. And yeah, we're going to talk. Lou, what do you think about as far as like topics? Does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to hear about on the podcast?
I guess one of the questions I was recently asked on Instagram was how to manage expectations and training of interns. That one of our listeners actually has one intern currently, but he's been receiving a lot of resumes, and he doesn't really know how to handle that or scale that at the moment. I know we took on people pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be tough. We could talk about like running in interns and how to successfully incorporate interns. I think that we all have struggles with this. I think it just takes time and takes systems, as well as like we could talk about like the legal red tape around it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I don't think most of our listeners are looking for at that level, looking for interns.
And then again, there's a lot of them that are.
Maybe I'm at the wrong place, but I'm looking for DK hair and fashion tutorials. What up, Gavin?
I'm just saying, you could still have that, but like if you're looking for any fashion tutorials from me, just wear all black. All black all day. A funeral every day.
What up, What up, VSAV? What's good? Thanks for joining the stream.
Hey, what was that one guy that followed you the last time I was on your stream? I was like, whoa, what a name.
Sweaty Freak?
Yes. I hope Sweaty Freak tunes in. I just want to see.
You just like his name?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey,
it takes balls to have that name.
how's the stream? How's the stream running? Should we hold on? Let me do this. I wonder if that's gonna make it easier if I just rely on
the actual wired connection.
Yeah. So it's at 547 right now. So there's 547 drop frames since we've started. And it hasn't increased since I turned off Wi-Fi.
How many frames per second?
Right now, I think I have it set to 30. I would love to get to 1080p 60 frames per second at some point, but just the Wi-Fi at my home or the studio upload speeds are just not that reliable yet.
Yeah, we're only at like 10.
Gavin says, bro, clear glasses were made for you. Thank you. It's just, does that mean, bro, no glasses is your look?
I think that means you need to get some contacts.
Actually, my next pair of glasses, I want some like colored frames. Like, I'm just gonna be like I'm gonna dress like I write, New York Times bestseller books as a 50-year-old man, but I'm like trendy on Twitter still, so I like wear like bright lime green glasses, frames with bright lime green glasses, or like that's what I'm gonna do.
Can you be at Starbucks with a desktop computer and a full monitor layout?
Yes, a full monitor.
Dual screen.
What up, D-Tone Smith? Thanks for dropping in on the YouTubes. Since I turned off Wi-Fi, it has not dropped a single frame. We're consistently keeping 30 frames per second here, so that's great. What up? Okay, so we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about on the show? I think...
Do you want to go technical, or do you want to go industry? It's the first episode of the year, so...
Ooh, do you want to talk about... Maybe we could talk about goals. I'd like to do both. If we do two episodes of about 30 minutes to 20 minutes to an hour each, and then...
What about revised goals, now that we've seen what we did last year, what we want to see better for this year? Things that could help the next engineer.
Yeah, so goals. Let's talk about like personal goals and kind of what we're setting. And I could talk a little bit. I know there's lots of like extreme specialists in the psychology of goal making and how to make effective goals.
Which I am not.
Which I'm also not. I've read some books about this stuff, but I'm not any sort of expert. So that's the only thing that I'm worried about as far as goal making, is that I don't trust my knowledge as far as like goal setting goes.
Talk about personal goals and what our I guess initial thought on our approaches to that.
Yeah, I think
obviously it changes with time. We see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So I think that we're gonna try a few different things. I think goals is a good topic. I would like to do something technical too. What is an issue that our interns or anybody runs into? We've talked so much about gain staging and preamps and outboard stuff.
We've talked about templates not always working and managing expectations when using other people's templates.
On my phone, which I can't use because we're live on Instagram, I have a list of ideas. Actually, I could just pull it up on the computer here. Gavin says, okay, real question. What do you guys do when you're waiting to hear back from clients to take the next steps and don't have anything to do in the studio until you hear from someone?
I play Pokemon, and I stream it. And then I go and catch legendaries, because I already beat the Pokemon game that I bought. I'm just waiting for Legends of Arceus. But real talk, honestly, I'm the kind of guy that likes to nerd out on stuff. I'll work on my patch bay. Like, if there's something misorganized in the studio, if there's anything that I can improve with my free time, I'm gonna improve it. You can ask DK. In 1 year, I probably redid the patch bay ground up like 4 times. And trust me, it's not a tiny patch bay.
All right. We could talk about mid-range. We could talk about...
How about focusing on getting a quality recording versus trying to fix it in the mix?
That's a good idea too.
Because I'm literally doing that right now. One of the songs that I'm streaming tonight is me correcting somebody's clearly distorted, clearly dithered recording.
What up? Thanks for the follow, Jay Miles. Hey,
Jay Miles.
Real quick though, to answer your question, Gavin, I think that's actually a perfect opportunity. So if you're waiting for a client to send you stuff back, we always talk about the difference between working for your business and working on your business. And I do want to explicitly recommend it is more important and very valuable to work on your business rather than for your business. This is a concept. This is a part of the concept is from a book called The E-Myth, which talks about entrepreneurs and small businesses and how to grow. And I think that, like Chris Graham on Six Figure Home Studio, or now Six Figure Creative, always talks about how it's extremely important to dedicate 1 day a week where you're not answering emails, you're not working on projects, you're working on the business, whatever that means. The website, marketing, tutorials, content, everything that you want to do for the business on that day. So if I'm in between projects or something like that, I'm always trying to work on the business, working on the email list or something like that. I noticed you guys under the tag Music Talk. Was wondering if I could send a track over. Curious on your thoughts. So Jay Miles, come join me on Twitch Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when I do mixed feedback. So on this Monday afternoon, evening stream, all we're doing right now is we're recording a couple episodes of the podcast, the Mixing Music Podcast. We're in the top 1% of podcasts globally, and we are in the top 50 music conversations podcasts in the world. So we have over 250,000 downloads. Actually, we're actually closer to 1/3 of a million downloads than we are to 250,000 downloads.
Nice.
And so on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. I do mixed feedback. You can send in music. I'll give you feedback straight up, and that's going to be best time.
Typically, you prefer unreleased music, right?
Oh, yeah. We only allow unreleased music. Yeah, we definitely don't allow unreleased music.
That it is released, and because of copyright issues, Twitch usually throws out flags over that. So
yeah. Oh, if you says he almost has 60,000 plays
organically, which
so that means we're not gonna do that on Fridays. It has to be
on that
music.
alone. Like organic plays at 60K is already a big deal. But actually, we can do mix reviews still. I think on mixingmusicpodcast.com there's like a mix review.
Yeah. So if you type in !podcast, it'll take you to our website, and you can actually have us review as well. Do you think living in Irvine, as far as the music industry, is close enough to everything? It's an hour from Hollywood. In what ways is proximity important? How close is close enough?
It doesn't matter at all. I can tell you right now, I know so many people that I work with in the Inland Empire that are doing really well. Now, the only reason you'd come out to Hollywood is to network. But the reality is this. If you're in Irvine, you're in a perfectly good space. The only reason to be in LA is if you're trying to be out in the city networking every day.
Which I will say, for Nels is a perfect example. Nels moved an hour away from LA, and it doesn't feel like he's in LA.
I believe he's either in Riverside or Irvine.
Yeah, he's in Riverside, and he's an hour away from LA, and it sucks for him. Like, he, as someone that's growing his brand in LA, it was absolutely devastating for him to move so far away. So I would say once you make, I think on your end, like if you're from here and you know a lot of people already, it's totally fine to live in Irvine.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be fine to live wherever. But if you want to move out to LA for LA, then I think for the first little bit it would be wise to move,
build your network,
city.
And then once you have an established network that you're actively working with, you'll realize that the distance isn't as much of a factor, because unless you're working every day, let's say you're only working once a week actively in sessions starting right now, but you have a solid workflow where you can work from home or you work remotely with a lot of people, then your location matters less. But if you're trying to be in LA every day, working every day, be in LA.
Yeah, I think that's the best advice for now. But I mean, that being said, you can make it work anywhere. It's the same sort of idea as like if you're trying to build your business in Salt Lake and you're in Provo or you're in Vineyard, right? Are you driving to Salt Lake every day? Like, I think it's just gonna come down to like my audience has ended up in Provo, not in Salt Lake. So like even at Cold House, most of my clients were from Provo, not in Salt Lake. I think it's just the same sort of thing, and that's a little bit less of a drive if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I'm gonna use the bathroom. I'm gonna pee real quick.
Cool.
And then we're gonna start our. That's a really good question from Jay Rush talking about a podcast topic: choosing the right DAW. Choosing the right DAW to help to, even if every DAW can do almost the same job, not using the same for beat making and mixing. So talking about different DAW, I think that's a good idea. Just like there's only so much that we could talk about it from personal experience, but I think that's actually a really great topic.
Yeah, I literally had to mix an album in Logic only because of the limitations of Pro Tools.
Oh, okay. In that case, if my network is already locked in, do you think being a 1 hour drive away is as much different than a 1.5 hour flight away? I think, and you're gonna have to let me know what you think on this one, but I think at the beginning stages, when you're trying to find more clients and whatnot, a lot of it's gonna be last minute sessions, last minute things, impromptu. Very rarely are you gonna find someone that's like, yo,
I'd like to book next week.
Yeah, not in the beginning stages out here, as I've learned. And I think that it might vary, and that's just my own personal experience. But yeah, putting it in that perspective, a 1 hour drive away versus a 1.5 hour flight away.
The 1.5 hour flight away, I'll put it to you like this. There was many sessions starting out where me and DK, when we first started working together, he was still going back and forth between Utah.
By the way, this is a whole podcast topic we can talk about. Is living in LA. Let's do that, because I think we did an earlier episode.
We can answer that. But to sum it up, if you're not in town right now and you're an hour and a half flight away, I'm just going to be honest. I can't call you for the session that's about to happen in 2 hours, because one, you got to book your flight, you got to get through your security, you got to get through your flight, then get out of security, then still drive to the session. We're talking about a 4 to 5 hour commitment with same day flight prices involved. If you're driving from an hour away, you could just jump in your car and be here in an hour. Like, worst case scenario, you have to deal with rush hour. You know what I mean? But realistically speaking, like, the idea is you want to be available for the opportunity versus being too far away to be even considered for the opportunity. But an hour drive, I promise you this much. I used to drive an hour and a half for last minute sessions all the time, and I still lived in LA. I lived in Alhambra, and I was driving to Marina Del Rey, which during rush hour, which is always when they call you for a session, it would take me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there, but I always made it for the session. So just being an hour away is not going to kill your career, but just be willing to make that drive every time. But with that said, if you're going to be working every day, that's also a lot of gas. You could just put that gas towards rent. I'm just saying, if you're filling up your tank twice a week, and that's $120 a week, that's $480 after 4 weeks. That's $500 more that you would have spent just having an apartment closer.
Also, gas is like $5 a gallon here.
That's
so
$60 for 12 gallons.
Yeah, that doesn't even fill up a car.
Well, maybe not your car, but I drive a Civic. Civics are basically.
I don't know if I'm losing in miles per gallon that by much.
No, I don't think so. Because you also have a Honda, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, those things
I have
forever.
I have a raid van.
A raid van?
It's a minivan.
You just pull up with a bunch of people in the back. We're about to raid this party.
Do you want to do about the benefits of living in LA and moving to LA and talk about that?
Yeah, we can
I think
do
that's
that.
a good. Do you want to do goals first, or do you want to do DAW first at all, or what are?
Let's do goals, because I feel like goals is a big thing that we all do at the beginning of a year.
Well, hold on. Do we? I haven't written down my goals yet, though.
That's the thing.
I want to write it
I don't
down.
think you necessarily have to write down your goals. I think you just have to know what you want better for yourself in that year. It doesn't.
Well,
have to
no.
be...
I want to write mine down.
No, okay.
So I haven't decided mine. So I don't know if it would be beneficial. I could talk about what I'm going to write down, but I'm not going to start stating my goals like willy nilly.
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk about what I'm thinking about. All right, let's do that then. Let's talk about goals.
Okay.
And talk about what did you have goals for this last year?
I did.
Okay, so let's
In fact,
go into
2 of them I tweeted about.
Do you want to pause the music?
Sure.
All right, so we are now officially recording this, and we may temporarily ignore the chats for a little bit, but Mixing Music Podcast Goals 2022, Take 1. Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I am your host, DK, and with me, as always, is
First one of the year.
L1 Limiter Lou.
I'll take it.
Shoot, I need to shout out the person that told us that on the Discord. We had someone on Discord. People on Discord are always giving us names to use for the podcast, and we've had a bunch of good ones. I'm about to pull it up right now because we're in front of the computer. So this is actually a very interesting episode, as for the first time ever, we're recording it, but we're also streaming it live. So we're literally on Twitch right now.
Oh, yeah.
Streaming this recording process live. Okay, yeah. Low latency Lou, L1 limiter Lou. Thank you, Daniel.Roberts1 on Discord for sending those. We have a bunch of other nicknames that we're going to be using in the future episodes.
Should we just make a thread just for people to submit Lou's?
There you go. They had like a whole channel for Lou nicknames. I think that's a good idea.
I think that's hilarious.
So a couple things before we start. Join us on Discord. There's over 550 other audio engineers, producers, songwriters, artists on Discord. The link to join our Discord is on mixingmusicpodcast.com. Also, again, join us on Twitch. Lou and I are streaming on Twitch. Lou recently became a new Twitch affiliate. Little clap to you. That means he's able to monetize his channel and reach more audiences, and you can give him tips and all that jazz.
We can make money?
There you go. And I'm also a Twitch affiliate. So Mondays at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. Actually, we start early. Start at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are streaming us recording the podcast live. Hopefully, we're going to be doing this every week from now on. And we're going to make these. And the reason why you want to join in and preview these episodes in real time on Mondays is that we will be actually, while we're recording, we'll be taking questions and kind of curating each episode. And make each episode a little bit more interactive. So to get there, you go to twitch.tv/DK Mixes. That is DEEKEI Mixes. One more time, Twitch. Or you can just go to DKMixes.live. That works too. That'll take you to my tip page, to my homepage for my live stream.
He's letting you know where to send the tips.
DKMixes.live. DKMixes.live. Follow us on Twitch and Master by Lou. So Lou does a Twitch stream on Monday nights at 6 p.m. That is twitch.tv/mastered by Lou. And you can find us both here at In the Mix Studios going live on Twitch. And it's a lot of fun. It's totally free. You can come in and interact while we're recording.
And it's literally not scripted. As you guys can see, we're literally trying to decide what it is live.
I think anybody that listens to the podcast is pretty obvious. It can pretty obviously tell that nothing is scripted because...
Did you hear the ADHD in our recordings?
But we're really excited today. And it is now a new year. It is 2022. Congratulations, y'all. We all survived. Little applause for everybody here. Yay!
Snip, snap,
Snip, snap, snip, snap. But we're really grateful for everybody that's tuning in and listening to the podcast for this long. We're looking forward to another great year of content. Isotope is back on board to sponsor the show again. We'll have more continued deals with Isotope products that we're really excited about. Also, we are still sponsored by, as we're using their microphones, Loughton Audio. Thank you so much for Loughton Audio. They are honestly some of the best microphones on the market for low to high end budget, and we really recommend actually using these mics. The LS208s are really
honestly,
great.
Yeah, one of the people that produces for a lot of major artists, he always books our studio. He was asking me, he's like, hey, I just got this mic and it's just not fitting right for me. I'm like, dude, you got to try the 208. He returned the mic that he bought, got the 208. The next time I saw him, he's like, dude, best mic I've ever used, hands down. Like, I use it for actual recordings.
Absolutely. And so like the LS208's great. It's a condenser shotgun style type, like really tight cardioid mic. So the room and the surrounding noise it's less sensitive to, which is really great. Thank you so much for sponsoring Loughton. As well as FilePass. If you want a link to FilePass, I've pitched FilePass so many times. It's like Google Drive, but for engineers, and it's absolutely amazing. You can host your music, and you send files to clients, and they can't download it until it's paid for. So it's like some sort of paid restriction platform as well. So you can hold on to files.
As on the stream as like if you want to take your career seriously, you want to have somebody that's going to make sure you get paid before the masters are released. FilePass is your friend.
Yeah, and I really do recommend it. And you can find links to all this stuff, and we do get a little kickback from any of these companies. You can find all these links on mixingmusicpodcast.com. All right, let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about goals. And I want to talk about some goals that I had set for 2021. And I want you to talk about some goals that you set for 2021. And then we'll talk about goals that we're looking to set for 2022. Because I want to sit down and write down my goals and properly think about them, but I want to dedicate this episode to thinking out loud and brainstorming before I like properly write them down. But for you, 2021, what were some of your goals?
To be honest, it was about establishing some systems. That was the number one goal because we talked about this either an episode or two ago about building a team and then my need to actually learn to trust in my team. And part of that was not minimizing the amount of work I do, but how much work I'm putting in to get the same job done. And it was funny because I even told you, I'm like, dude, FilePass has saved me a lot of time. Using Canva has helped me out with a lot of the media posting and all that for like Instagram, doing social media. Trello, which you showed me, has actually helped out a lot. It was all about really trying to minimize how much work goes into getting the same amount of work done.
Yeah. It's like we've mentioned this before, like the 80-20 principle, where usually people will find that 80% of the work that they put in results in 20% of their income.
Yes.
Versus like 20% of the work that they put in somehow results in 80% of their income, and how to continually, change that and upgrade your system so more and more of your income is related to the amount of work that you put in. And this is incredibly important because we did a really great job this year doing that. Well, we could do better always, but I think from where we started, and most importantly, I can testify, weird to say that, that this year, at the beginning of the year when we first started the studio, or it was technically last year, 2020, at the fall of 2020, but during the beginning of 2021, you had a lot of pushback and gave me a lot of pushback about, okay, I want to be in control. No, I need to know what's going on. And
yes,
that
is in my nature.
Over the year, you got a lot more comfortable letting go of doing the technical work, which in turn, we haven't made less money, but you've been able to spend more time at home.
Which is great. Like, I literally was talking about that, what I was doing yesterday. Like, I did stream yesterday. I'll be honest. I did come to the studio for a lesson, but I made a point to just come in, do the work that I needed to do, went back home, had a barbecue with my family, went on these little Link scooters, those things you find on the street, just enjoyed my time with my family versus being like, I need to work more.
There's a book called Atomic Habits that I'm yet to read, but there's a quote from that book called, "People do not rise to the level of their goals, they fall to the level of their systems."
Yep.
So that was a very
I can
important.
attest to that.
So that's a very good quote and a very good, that's a really great goal. And how did you feel like you did this year?
A lot better than I thought I could. Like I said on the last episode, it was a challenge learning to just let go and trust, because part of it is, as you said, it's like the oldest sibling syndrome. Well, I'm not the oldest sibling, but owning a business is like having a baby in a sense, because you're like, oh my God, like what if something happens? What if something happens to my baby? I wasn't there to prevent it. I wasn't there to make this better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that part of it is scary, kind of giving up a little bit of control. But at the same time,
It's so relieving.
yeah, it does help relax. I think that we've both gotten better at easing up on relaxing this year. And I do think that we both have experience in the sense that usually when people kind of mature into the adolescence of their business, they tend to get complacent and no longer are working on their business as much, and they rely on somebody else. But I think that we've been able to balance relieving responsibility from ourselves, but at the same time making sure and being in charge of things that are important, making sure the machine is running smoothly.
I think the thing that helped us a lot with that is part of building our systems with our business was saying what we actually need to worry about, and then delegating what we don't need to worry about. Like, for instance, I don't really know so much about graphic arts, but I'm really glad that we have Matt to help us out with that. For a long time, we had Henry helping us out, make video and all that. We had Danny helping us out with ads and outreach and all that. To be honest, that's a lot of work for one person to handle, even two people to handle. So the fact that we actually were able to delegate those responsibilities to our team helped us out a lot.
Yeah. Is there any other goals that you had for this year that you felt like you did well with?
For 2021, actually, one of them was go home more often. And that was part of systems end result, right? The better the systems were put, the more often I'd be able to actually have that happen. But I found myself making it a point to go home. And I kept telling myself, go home. Like, you have a fiance at home. You probably don't need to be here till 4 a.m, 5 days a week. Because for a long time, that's how it was. But today, I was telling my fiance, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go. I'm going to be there by 8:30. I'm going to work from 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock tonight, and then I'm just going to go home. So being home by 10 or 10:30, whatever, feels great compared to before.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of the habits that I was trying to build last year, trying to go home more often and sooner.
Yeah, and I think that's also like setting expectation with clients you've done a better job with as well.
Setting up boundaries, really.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that, the importance of choosing your clientele.
Yeah.
And anything else? Because I got a few.
Those were the main ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my 3 that I had. I had 1 was spend more time with family. So that meant getting my family out to LA. Because as you know, with my son being born, that was it was a shit show. I don't know if there's I think that word even then is not strong enough. I don't think shit show is strong enough of how it was bad. It was really bad and emotionally very traumatizing, heavy, to not be with my wife and kids because my youngest, my new son, who I found out when he was born was handicapped, was still in the NICU and just recovering, and I just wasn't spending time. I felt like a failed father in many ways, and just finally getting them out to LA, getting the baby out of the hospital, and now he's here, and we've gotten all the insurance stuff taken care of. It's just the biggest blessing ever, and that was the first goal.
That was a huge, like, the way I saw it was lifestyle stabilization.
Yeah.
Like, it literally went into like a chaotic mode for a moment, but you seem to have stabilized it since.
Oh,
by a long shot.
Yeah. Granted that me by myself, I'm just a ball of chaotic energy. So until my wife comes into play, no, there's no order, and I will lose my mind. And the second goal of mine was more financial stability. And I wasn't looking for a number per se, but I didn't want to live paycheck to paycheck. And I wanted to get out of that and save some money. And I think that I was able to do that this year. and that was there was just a lot going on, and I was somehow able to put that together and make it a little bit less stressful. And we're really grateful for that and save some money. So, and the third thing for me was to read some books. And did I read some books this year? I had a friend that I was telling you about earlier off stream, but I had a friend, he posted on Facebook, in 2021, I made the goal to read 10 books. And he's like, I ended up reading 156. And I'm like, damn.
Talk about setting a goal and being like, that wasn't big enough.
Yeah, like a 15%, 15 times increase. That's incredible. And first off, that is extremely motivational. Like, I want to do that. I don't think I'm going to read 150 books this year, but this last year I said that I would read a book a month, and I read a little bit more than that. I read closer to about, actually, no, it was about a book a month. I read about 10 to 12 books. I have to recount. No, maybe it was a little bit more, but there's a lot of really good books that I read, and I'm trying to ramp it up. I'm pushing my number up to 20 this year. I want to read more. In fact, I think I can do more than 20. I just have to be consistent with my time.
I'm just not going to lie. I read 2.
Hey, that's better than 0.
It definitely is, but it's like, this guy read 157. I had a hard time finding the time for 2.
Yeah, I'm noticing that with reading, it's literally just about consistency. So like, I'm trying this thing right now where I'm reading 25 minutes a day every day, because I hate, like, reading is so incredible, because every time that I sit down and read, I learn so damn much that, like, the only other way that I can learn that much is if a mentor took me to his place of work and made me do the work on his behalf with him behind my shoulder. That's the only other time and place that a book may not offer as much knowledge. But, like,
that's the way I learn the most.
Like, you can, like, other people can make, like, when you hear the story of, like, when you hear people say, let other people make mistakes so you can learn from them, like, I think the best way to really, truly implement that is through reading. Like, I think that me watching myself or my wife or my family or whoever, friends, make mistakes and me trying to learn from them is not as effective as me reading and, like, them well thought out, like, edited, everything in a very succinct thought presentation. You can learn from that. And, like, they usually, with the way that they write, especially with nonfiction, the last few paragraphs of the chapter sums everything up and kind of tells you how to implement everything. So it's just absolutely just one of those things that changed my mindset about this. And I think that I have a lot more to learn. I think that I'm not even close to 156 or whatever the hell the number was, but I do want to read more books this year.
I think you just added to my goal list for this year.
And I think my goal, to be honest, I think my goal is less going to be about the number of books rather than
the consistency.
Like, I want to spend 25 minutes a day, at least 4 days a week, 25 minutes a day reading at night or in the morning. So, and I'm good at reading. I've just been so bad at being consistent because, as a creative, as we all are, we're just really, creatives are naturally bad at being consistent, where we don't have that order in our lives. And
I mean, if you have ADHD, it also doesn't add on really well.
So I think it's just a matter of focusing and self-discipline and trying to stay consistent. Talking about consistency and discipline, I should have done this. I offered to do it, but then we got distracted and didn't do it. Before the show, me and my wife have been doing a breathing exercise every night before we go to bed. Right. And it's called the Wim Hof method of breathing, and basically you hyperventilate.
What the hell, dude? I am already overweight.
and then you just, like, flood your bloodstream with oxygen and turn your blood, like, alkaline for a minute because of all the oxygen. And there's a chance that you pass out. But anyway, it kind of, like, resets your circulation system by, like, hyper-oxygenating your blood. And then you hold your breath and, like, let the oxygen get out. And you do that 3 times. It's a whole thing. And it's actually incredible. Like, usually I go to bed and I'm usually cold when I go to bed. Well, I get out of the shower and I like to run my showers hot. But
yeah, mine are probably hotter than hell.
There you go. And then, so with that, like, we've just been doing that every night. That's actually been good. We've been doing it now for a week. It's been actually really good. And my wife was like, this actually, I think, is helping. not so much with sleep. I feel like yes, but I think it helps relax at the end of the day, and I think it helps with like muscle relief and tension in the body. Just like it's like relaxation, meditation. But anyway, it's been really good. They actually tell you to do it. It's recommended to do it like first thing in the morning, or before you eat. And if you have trouble focusing, if you're having muscle fatigue, or before you exercise, even to do this.
Okay, the exercise one kind of scares me a little bit because you're already almost passing out.
Because it's a pretty I don't know how to say it. It's a pretty aggressive meditation.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Like I passed out a couple times. Briefly passed out.
Okay, I don't know about doing this before I exercise then, because I'm already gonna pass out during exercise.
No, it feel. I don't know how to explain this. Like it feels so good, and there's a lot of scientific proof, medical science proof that shows that this is actually one way to kind of revitalize the body and the circulation system. And every once in a while, kind of reset the body.
Okay.
So we're gonna do this after the show.
Let's do it.
But going back to like habits, I think
just in case.
I think for 2022, between you and I want to take the time to write down my goals, but I'm thinking about somehow implementing some sort of quantitative, is that the right word? Quantifiable goal around the idea of consistency. And I think I'm going to format it in 25 minutes of reading 4 days a week.
That makes sense. And at that point, you could do what you've been doing, which is study with me.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I think I told you earlier, it was one of those things I was going to try for this year, except it's not reading. It's just trying to get myself back on, like...
watching YouTube videos, yeah.
Because we talked about this in the past, but, like, this is for another episode, but you know how it goes. After so much of the repetitive information, you're like, I'm tired of hearing this. And I think there's enough new information out there for me to be very intrigued again.
Yeah. I do... recently again have been finding more joy in studying on YouTube about audio.
Yeah.
And actually I think that I'm going to read one of those books that they gave me in college, like Master Guidebook, Handbook of Recording and Mixing.
Have you seen the ones I brought to the studio?
Yeah. I think I'm actually going to like sit down and read through one this year. I should.
One of my live sound book actually has nothing but highlights across this is why I'm such a nerd about certain things. Because I literally studied speaker design in those books, and then I got really into it. So if you get to the speaker section, it's either green or yellow or something, but it's drenched.
Wow.
It is drenched. I'm like, oh, so this is how the woofer designed on this one, and this is why it has this kind of dispersion pattern, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Like, I cannot read without a highlighter.
Yeah,
just kind of organizes my mind.
Yeah, exactly. And then I forget where I left off if I don't use a marker.
Yeah. So 2022, we got a little on tangent, but tell me, what are some ideas of goals that you want to set for 2022?
So I set 2 personal goals and 1 more professional goal, which the 2 personal goals were to not destructively compare myself anymore, which I feel
Tell
like
me a little
lot
bit
of
more
people
about that. I don't want to get too personal.
No,
into
it's all
everything,
good. But I think this is something that we do a lot, even in a professional realm, which is everybody wants analog gear. Everybody wants the nice studio. Everybody wants XYZ. The reality is it's not going to help you with your business as much as you working on your business and focusing on what your business needs, not what other people are flashing. The reality is a lot of times too is we compare our career, our path, where we are at. And I really just don't want to do that anymore. It's too destructive. It's too distracting too. Instead of focusing on what I'm doing and what's in front of me, I'm distracted by what other people are doing and what's in front of them.
Yeah.
And that is not helping my business. It's not helping me personally. It's just not helpful. Now, I say destructively in the sense that we don't want to run into the issue that you start comparing yourself, that you go off course of where you should have been going, of where you originally set your goals, but you started adding goals that didn't matter to the original goal because of comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I this actually goes hand in hand with what I was reading last night. So, I'm almost done with another book that I was reading. I'm almost done with it, called The 4 Agreements, and the second agreement of the 4 agreements, this hidden Toltec wisdom. It's actually a pretty good book, and it's a pretty short read, but the second point was to basically never seek validation. never take anything personally, which means for the good and bad too. So like, never take anything personally in the sense that not only is taking things personally. So if something that someone says offends you, then that is a very ultimate form of selfishness, meaning that you're thinking that the world revolves around you. So first off, it goes into basically talking about how you shouldn't compare yourself to others and put yourself down. But it also talks about how even if someone compliments you, you shouldn't take it personally, because you know who you are, and you don't need validation. You don't need to live your life needing to be told you're doing good. Mm-hmm. You know that you are a good person. You're working on your stuff, and I think that's one of the secrets that we're all trying to unlock. Yeah. Is because I think that's a good point.
True. And it's honestly speaking, like everybody gets a jolly when they're told that they're doing something right or what they do is cool. But I found myself many times when I feel confident about something, I get lazier about it, which makes it worse off for me. And that's a personal thing. So if you guys can ever just down smash me, just insult me a little, I'll work harder.
Yeah. That's a funny way. That's a funny way to put it. I'm not going to insult you, but
dude, your mix sucks balls. I'll do better.
No, but I think that's a really good goal.
Yeah, the other personal one was really kind of goes with the what was it? Oh yeah, I just don't want to criticize anymore. I don't want to really not care. But if somebody does something and I think it's stupid or I don't like it or whatever, and we talked about this in the past because sometimes we work with clients whose music is not our personal taste and whatever, what the hell does that have to do with me? But the reality is, many times I've found myself, and like many others, we find ourselves critiquing another person because either we want to feel better about our own situation or we're frustrated with their choice and whatever. But the reality is, it has nothing to do with us. Yeah. And it's only, once again, distracting us from our own personal goals, our own intentions. And that has no purpose in my life. So one of my goals is to do better at not criticizing people. The other part is not comparing myself, because those two tie in with each other.
Oh, I think that's a really great goal. I think
they're personal goals, but professionally speaking, if you start criticizing another person in the room and you don't know that they work with each other or that they know each other, you might have just shot yourself in the foot in the dumbest way.
And I think there's a lot of different perspectives that we can take a tangent off this from, but like, yeah, I think one of the tangents that comes to off my mind, the thoughts to piggyback on that, is the idea of, again, being so into being a dad right now. One of the most difficult things to do is to not overlove and to not overcare. And that is incredibly difficult.
I can imagine.
If anybody knows the story of like Oedipus Rex, the classic.
Oh, I know that story.
The classic story of the Oedipus mother, right? And like, so we all have all of us can probably have had somebody in our lives, ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, fathers, mothers, or anybody related or not related, that have honestly cared a little bit too much.
Absolutely.
And I think that when that happens, and you have, for example, for me, I have a very much an Oedipus father. My father cares way too much. It's not good for his health. He's very fear-driven about my progress. He thinks that I'm going to ruin everybody's life, and he's very over-concerned. And I think that, and there's therapy involved in all this stuff. So
absolutely,
we're not going to go too deep into it, but I do think that sometimes the criticism, the desire to criticize, comes from a really good place, a place of love, of interest in that other person. But I do think that it's a really good idea to be careful with your criticism and let people learn. And I do think that in translate, I think a perfect love is not more love. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Honestly, it does make sense. It may sound weird when voiced or overthought, but the reality is, I was talking about this with Anna, like, the idea of like, if we had a kid, like, what would you want to do? What would you want to teach them? Like, at the end of the day, I just remember wanting to learn what I wanted to learn and what my parents' influence were, what my aunts and uncles' influence were, what their opinions were. I remember, and this is kind of sad, and it's also kind of funny, but it's truth. I remember wanting to be a fireman, and in Spanish they're called bomberos. You know what else is a bombero? A guy that blows up balloons. So
Yo, I want to be that kind of bombero.
yeah, right. He's like, what do you do for a living? Balloon guy. But the funny thing is, like, I remember changing my view when I got made fun of for it. I started, they were having a good joke, but I cared too much.
That's also the first agreement of the 4 agreements.
Yeah.
Is that words and ideas are basically can be poison.
Yeah.
So like if you tell yourself,
they can take you off course.
yeah, if you tell yourself I don't want, it's not cool to do this, or I don't want to do this, then that it can become a complex.
Exactly, which is why those 2 goals for this year are personally really important.
You should. I'm going to challenge you to read the 4 agreements. I'm going to let you borrow it after I finish it.
Okay.
It's a short book. It's shorter than the Go Giver, which
I'll
is like
do
my
better
all-time.
on the challenge. I will do a study with me on it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sweet. I think it's a really good book, and I'm appreciating a lot right now. Yeah. What's the business one?
The business one is it's kind of funny because it ties more to Midside Sound, my personal business, because I know we're very well managed in the way we do things here. The cool thing is when you have a partner, you have accountability, where when you have your own business, you are your own accountability. Who's gonna tell you anything? Doesn't always work out in the best efforts. So one thing that I noticed in the last 2 years that I've been doing my taxes is there's a lot of money coming out from things that I have forgotten about. And because of that, I've noticed that there's expenses that don't need to exist, that no longer serve a purpose. There's also expenses on things that I've bought that didn't necessarily help the business. We talk about analog gear being something that has a really bad ROI. But the reality is...
Are you talking about Slate plugins? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yes. No, I'm just kidding. If you guys like Slate, whatever. But like, I had them for years, and then I canceled them, never looked back, never missed them once.
Hey, it's my job to have an opinion, so I'm going to say if you like Slate, that's fine, but there's a reason why I don't.
You can find that reason on another episode. No. But, it's... my goal for this year is to restructure every last penny that comes in and out of my accounts. I want complete separation of my business versus personal versus anything. If I want to take a vacation, separate savings account for that with a structured, percentage that comes out of my account every month, this and that, so that I can actually keep track, be more organized, and have to worry less when it comes to tax season about where's my receipts, where's my cost, what's actual profit, what's not profit. Because at the end of the year, it's always kind of scary wondering how much I'm going to pay in taxes or what my tax person's going to ask me for. And it's also a lifestyle thing. If you know where your money is going, you can control what your expenses are. You can control what your overhead is entirely, at which point you can completely change your lifestyle. Like, it's funny. We talked about your grocery list. How much do you spend a month?
About $200 or less.
You know how much I spend every time I go to Vons? Like about $150 to $200. I go to Vons like 3 times a month.
Which, by the way, anybody that's listening right now, so my wife and I were really good at not spending money.
It's impressively good.
I will say that I'm not rich, but if I am, it's not because of how much I'm making, it's because of how much I don't spend. Like, we literally spend $200 or less on groceries every month.
Yeah. Dude, like, I need to get to that point. I've met people where they tell me their total living cost is around like $1,000 a month, and that's with like a studio apartment in like Chinatown, whatever. Like, they're obviously living super frugal. But when I ask them, like, what do you do for a living? They're like, just odd jobs. I don't have to structure myself around how much overhead I have anymore. My overhead is so low, I do whatever I want. I'm not looking to do whatever I want. I want to create a better future for me and my fiance.
I think that's actually really great, like financial structure and reevaluating your income and expenses.
What do you actually need? Like, I found out I was
kind of like doing a profit loss statement.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was looking over, and I found out that for the last 2.5 years, I've been paying for Outlook, like Microsoft Excel and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. But then I asked my fiance. No, I asked my fiance because I bought it for her work and everything. And it turns out that her work actually paid for it now, and I didn't know. So I'm okay with it. It's only $5 a month, but it's 3 years worth of $5 a month.
that
So,
wasn't
like,
necessary.
part of me just kind of hurt, and I was like, look, I didn't even notice the $5. That's less than the cup of my freaking coffee. But still, though, like, how am I not keeping track of this? This is irresponsible on my end. And I'm 30 years old saying I want to adult better.
Yeah. That's I think we all can adult better. I don't think that that's you guys, I don't think that there's any sort of
I don't think it's an issue, but you have to admit, how many times have you seen me scheming through Sweetwater like, ooh, oh, you see that $5,000 compressor? Is it going to make me money? No. Is it going to bring me new clients? No. Is it going to get me clout? Yes. Do I want the clout? I don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah. I do think anyway, I think that we all struggle with becoming adults more and more. I don't think that this is something that ends magically at the age of 30 or 40 or something like that.
I can't wait to have a kid and be so confused.
Yeah, I think, like, I'm going to tell you again and again and again, I think having a kid is one of the best business decisions I could ever make in my life. And I credit a lot of my financial success through my goals from having kids and even having a second kid. So, granted, take that with a grain of salt. It's not okay for anybody to just have kids without thinking about it first.
Yeah.
So on that note, I think that's kind of like it. The important part of this episode, and we challenge anybody that's listening right now, is go ahead and think about goals for yourself. There are so many resources out there on YouTube, on blogs and books about the most effective way to set goals, and more importantly, how to stay consistent and set them in a way that's achievable, that motivates you to achieve them rather than to start looking like a very high wall that's difficult to overcome.
You know, I actually did look up one video after my sister mentioned something to me, and at first I thought it was a little weird, but it made sense. So I kind of just decided to do a quick Google search on it, and a video came up. And the idea is, if you're doing the exercise goal, don't plan on doing I go 5 days a week and I spend, I do 10 miles or whatever, because 10 miles is hard, but rather do a certain amount of time. You're just going to run for 15 minutes today. It's okay to do those 15 minutes as long as you stay consistent, but you will find results even in those 15 minutes. If you did a mile in 15 minutes, you might be at a mile and a half in 15 minutes. You eventually may be at 2 miles in 15 minutes, but apparently people stick to their goals more when it comes to exercise if they do a timed goal versus a specific length goal, like 2 miles, 10 miles, whatever. Because a lot of people will try to do like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds in 3 months, but then they don't realize that their body plateaus. They don't realize that a lot of it's just water weight and not actual fat. But doing timed apparently helps a lot of people stick to their goal. So there's different ways. Go on YouTube. There's a ton of resources.
my 25 minutes of reading is better than the number of books.
Like they said, like if you do a specific amount of time versus a specific numeric goal, that the consistency builds up and stays with you.
This is the idea of staying grounded, and I think this is a very important idea. The idea of being grounded is the idea that there's no way that you're an expert in all things. So if you want to dive more into exercising, then it is dumb for you to just go to the gym and make your own exercise plan without consulting any sort of an expert, even if it's just going online to watch a simple YouTube video.
Yeah.
It is.
I got the best results when working with trainers.
So exactly. So it's like if you can't have someone with you, then at least looking up by professionals who know more than you. I think that's the idea of staying grounded. And
there's
I think
diet-based trainers too. Like there's like vegan trainers who are like, hey, obviously because we don't eat certain things, we don't have as much resource in certain things. These kind of exercises work to your benefit because of this.
Yeah. And that's one of, okay, anyway, we're going to get on a super deep tangents if I do that. But please set goals. Set goals that are sustainable. Sustainability is always the name of the game here. And we here at In the Mix Studios and from the Mixing Music Podcast are wishing you the best of the best 2022s. And hopefully you find a lot of peace, a lot of joy, a lot of self-satisfaction. And you're able to rip yourself away from the old skin and become anew as you are, let me keep making this corny and cornier,
Hold
as
on. Are
born
we shedding?
again, shedding old skin in 2022 and becoming a better version of yourself, whatever that means.
We are
And-
gonna rise like a phoenix.
one more time.
That's the weakest phoenix caw I've ever heard.
So on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Boom.
All right, let me stop that recording here. Also, I didn't realize. So you know who uses plugins heavy? Let me make sure that recorded. At least we got the audio. Let me make sure that we got the video.
If anything, it's still gonna be on the video on demand.
Fair.
Right?
Hold on. Wait a second. 4 gigs? Yep, we got it. Okay, here's the deal. So this is funny. You guys should. So Gavin is a heavy Slate user and loves Slate. I actually don't.
see him posting about Hofa though. Hofa's great. I actually use their DDP encoder a lot. Do you do
Well, hold on,
DDP
hold on.
encoding?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I know
okay.
what you're talking about, but I didn't know. I don't know about this Hofa company.
You don't know about Hofa?
I don't think I do,
Oh.
unless I'm mistaken. Do you? What other plugins do you have by them? Do you have any plugins by them?
I think I have a pretty big handful.
Is that the
from them.
transgressor one?
No, that's BOZ.
Okay.
Boz.
Anyway, Gavin is Gavin loves Slate stuff, so I knew that if he was still listening, I wasn't sure if he was still listening, but I knew that he was going to feel that to the core. No, I actually don't personally have anything against Slate. I just don't use them.
I'm not gonna say it's a personal thing.
I do
against
actually
Slate.
have something personal against Slate, but that's what it is. It
For
is
me,
personal.
it's just the marketing campaigns. They're so corny that like I can't keep my eyes off of them. So Slate, if you're watching, they're good. Keep doing your thing.
No,
But-
I met up with a couple Slate representatives, and they were the biggest douchebags out of every company
There's one guy
representative
that was
I've met.
actually really cool. I'll shout him out in the future once I remember his name, because he had a really cool name. It stood out, but apparently not enough for me to remember. But nonetheless, he was cool. But yes, I've met many Slate reps, and they all seem to go to the gym together.
Yo, my what?
Yes.
Nah. Literally just hold on. Gavin says, hold on. Noah says, great job, guys. I like the live format. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Noah.
that. Gavin says, I hate this marketing.
I love this so much. They all go to the gym together. You know who also is motivationally consistent with their workouts is Gavin, actually.
Really?
Yeah, Gavin and Nicole go to. Well, at least I don't know if I haven't.
I've
sorry,
seen that they hike.
I'm not like stalking y'all as much as I probably should
I'm
be.
stalking your dog.
But what the heck,
Dude,
but,
have you seen their dog? It's beautiful.
Is it Sequoia?
Yeah, so there was a face that Sequoia made when putting her paw on Gavin. Gavin, I know you know what I'm talking about. But she made this specific face that I had to screenshot, and I actually ended up like using it for a little while as like an emote in text messages with people. They'd be like, "Did you really just say that?" And I just send the picture of the dog going,
Is that what that was? That was Sequoia?
"That was Sequoia."
Oh my god!
Yeah, So
Because I
shout
think
out
you said it to
Sequoia.
me a couple times.
yeah. Where it's like, "Did you really just say that?"
Gavin, your dog is a meme.
Yeah. Honestly,
but,
now that I can make my own emotes, I'm gonna make. You know what, Gavin? I'm making Sequoia an emote on Twitch for my
There-
subscribers. There we go.
yeah, baby, gym every day, and yeah, dude, Sequoia is the cutest. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think Nicole has made a few gifts too. Haha.
See?
There you go. Yeah, so we're really. We should do the next episode. Should we talk about LA, or do you want to do about mid-range
Slate marketing.
Slate marketing? Listen to this amazing you know,
All the greatest engineers are using fresh air.
the most underrated podcast company is Universal Audio. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Do they have a podcast?
No, you know what's okay? Hold on. Is there a plugin that I've been using that's really cheap or fun?
Yes. Cornef.
Oh, that one's not super cheap, but it is you got it. Have you been using it?
I haven't bought it yet. I'll be honest.
Okay.
That was my mistake because like I had full intention of buying it and then something distracted me as it always does.
Gavin said if you guys wear way more. If you wear tight shirts, you'll get way more subscribers.
Dude, have you seen this belly in a tight shirt? It's not pretty. Like, you'll see the shadow of the belly button, which is not pretty.
I'm just a skinny boy, so if I put on a tight shirt, it'll just be like, yo, this guy's got nothing. This guy, but we need to go into the next episode. I think this is really good, and
I think the LA one was a good one because, one, you can relate to that in the sense of you traveling back and forth, and then when it came time to deciding where the apartment was, how you chose your proximity.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody that's watching right now, feel free, as we're kind of going through the episode, if there's any questions that are asked that pertain to the episode, and you want to interact more with the video and the podcast recording, we'll shout you out, and you'll actually be on the actual podcast episode that comes out tomorrow, and this next episode will be for next week, right?
Yeah.
But come join us. Come join us.
Twitch with us.
Also, if we do this live streaming thing, I think we should do a few more weeks of we do 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then we should do one long one after a while. Like, we should just get in the habit of doing one long one so we can really milk this live stream thing. I'd love an LA thing, especially if it was broken up into 3 parts: 1 engineer, 2 artist, 3 producer. Ooh.
I like the artist and producer part. Because producer and engineer share a lot of similarities, but also have vastly different opportunities when it comes to remote work. Artistry, though, that's a hard one.
Is Law still here? Is Law still here? If Law's here, we should have him talk about it.
We can set up another mic for him.
Hold on. Let me see if anybody else is here.
Yeah. Oh, Caden's here. Caden's an artist. Ooh, guys. Ooh. No, but in all seriousness, like, if they're here, then you have 2 engineers. DK used to be an artist as well. They left? I was going to say, Law is a producer with major credits, and Caden is a really good artist that also moved to LA recently.
You can even break up artists into live-oriented artists and not live-oriented artists. That would be a really tough one. We could try to talk about it, but I think those topics outside of engineer would specifically be better if we had a guest.
Yeah.
And
we can talk
Laura
about our opinion on the whole artist thing and producer thing, but I also just know from experience how these major sessions move with producers in the room and
there's also
in the room.
And I haven't been and there's a difference between being an artist and getting into these major label rooms versus being an artist here from scratch.
Yeah. And if you notice, a lot of the major artists start off as writers in the rooms.
So, Gavin, I know that you've been saying, even before today, you were specifically talking about many times, and this is a really great point, you're only an hour and a half flight away. The benefits of living and paying Utah rent versus moving to LA and paying LA rent. Let me ask you, you keep saying it you keep asking in the format of, is that 30-minute commute worth it or whatever, right? Let me ask you the other direction. What's the benefits of staying in Utah? I think that's the first way. I think that's the first thing to ask. I
want to say that my first reaction to that was, ooh, but I also didn't know if that was appropriate or not.
Because, I mean, Lou, you've specifically stated that, especially seeing my clients from Utah, you've multiple times have said that Utah artists are very surprising.
I'll say this. You know why I love to work with artists that are not from LA, producers, engineers, anything? It's because they have a different level of hunger. But Utah seems to have this weird music scene that a lot of people are sleeping on. If you're watching right now, just send your beats to fucking Utah. What the fuck? Seriously, you know how many, I'm not saying anything about my current clients in LA. I'm just saying that I've worked enough in LA to know the difference. And a lot of LA people just assume that LA is going to make it happen for them because they're here, which unfortunately I can say there's many.
We should be recording this. We should be recording this. We should be recording this. But finish your thought.
Okay, finishing my thought in 2 seconds is Utah has so much potential, but LA has the network.
Oh man, yeah, for sure.
Utah artists are fucking surprising.
All right, we're gonna
You
go.
too,
We're gonna start.
Gavin.
We're gonna start recording. Yeah, I mean, Gavin is like a ridiculous producer. Let's be honest.
No, seriously, yeah.
All right, recording vocals. I think we're rolling here. Let me roll on here, and we'll start it off. Hold on, before we start the episode. For us, it's just real estate. We own so you own a home.
Oh,
studio,
dude,
basement. It's about how much you put into a home. Yeah.
I mean, put it this way. I'm planning on buying a house, if I can, on the outskirts of LA to save costs. I don't need to be in the dead center of LA because the reality is you can always make the drive, sure. But Utah prices for houses versus LA prices for houses are still astronomically different.
We'll talk about the importance of economics and how economics plays in it, because there's going to be something that you're really going to love about what I'm about to say about economics too. So we're going to get started with this podcast. The value of living in LA for music industry, Mixed Music Podcast, take one. Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I am your host DK, and with me, as always, is Scooby Dooby Lou. Have we done that one before?
You know what? No, I don't think you have, but that is good. Who did that?
Shout out to Alan Strovich on our Discord channel. Thank you so much, Alan, for giving us that nickname.
Strovich, I don't have anything to send you, but if I could, I would.
Scooby Dooby Loo is solid, and I think that's
the most creative one we've gotten.
That
so far.
is, and it is wonderful. It is wonderful.
I love Yu-Gi-Oh because I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, but like Scooby Dooby Loo, that's good.
So we want to do a quick shout out on the podcast. This topic has been introduced to us by one of my friends. His name is Gavin McMahon, who is a extremely talented producer.
He has nothing to do with the WWE.
WWE?
McMahon?
Okay, I don't watch WWE.
You keep doing it. Yeah.
So Gavin is an incredibly talented songwriter, producer, instrumentalist, blah, 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 and goes on. And Gavin still lives in Utah, which is where I was living I've now lived in LA for a little over a year, about a year and a half. But before then, I was living in Utah for about 4 or 5 years. And we were friends out there, and he's talking about the benefits of moving to LA. Why is it worth moving to LA, or why is it not worth moving to LA? And we want to talk about that. But before we do, I want to talk real quickly, for shout out, if you love the Mixing Music Podcast and you want to be more involved, well, guess what? You can be part of our live recordings on Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are currently, right now, we are live streaming on Twitch. And you can come in and you can comment and ask questions on Twitch, and we will expand further as long as the questions and comments are
within the realm of the episode.
Yeah, there you go. Within the realm of the topic of the episode. Then we would love to interact with you. We'd love to hear with you. And in order to do that, you just follow me on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/DK Mixes. That is /DEEKEI Mixes. And I am live every Monday at 2 p.m. for our podcast. I am also live every Friday morning at 10 a.m. for mix feedback. So if you'd love to get feedback on your mixes for free, go to, again, twitch.tv/DK Mixes. Lou is also on Twitch doing live streaming every Monday night at 6 p.m. And that is twitch.tv/mastered by Lou. He goes over mixing, loves to answer questions, and very interactive. This is just one way that you can interact with us directly, and we're trying to scale and upscale our amount of content that we create on live stream. So right now we're live, and we're really grateful for Gavin, who is on the stream with us right now. And if you're watching our videos on YouTube, you will see Gavin's comments right here, and as talking about this. So
wait, there's more.
There's more.
Yeah, Spotify has recently allowed a new rating system.
Oh yeah, there's a new rating system on Spotify for podcasts specifically, a 5-star rating system, which is new. Apple's been doing this, but this is extremely, extremely important. If you haven't already, you don't have to write any words down. Just go to Spotify, go to our podcast profile. Please click on 5 stars. You have no idea how incredibly helpful that is for our show and for supporting us. It's absolutely free, and it takes 10 seconds. Yeah, it's absolutely free and takes 10 seconds. It's a new feature. We really appreciate any sort of help. So please go ahead and do that. If you're on Apple Podcasts, even better. Please leave a 5-star review. If you're on Apple Podcasts specifically, please leave a couple of words like "thanks, guys." Like if you leave a written review, it does more than just a click of 5 stars.
You could also add, I'm just saying, an idea for another Lou name.
There you go in the
comments. That would be the funniest comments to read
in the review. Yeah. So today's podcast episode is really exciting. Thanks again to Gavin for bringing this up. We're talking about the benefits of moving to LA, and we do have someone that is a native LA engineer, Lou, and and I moved here about a year and a half ago, and we both own studios here in LA. We both have our own mixing clients and engineering clients. You and I've started doing like some songwriting and some production for different people and got some cool credits there. So I want to make sure we have a lot of perspectives coming into this. Gavin specifically said breaking up this episode into 3 parts. 1 for the engineer moving to LA as an artist or moving to LA as a producer. So I don't know how much we can speak on behalf of artists and producers, but I can at least speak on behalf of engineers and just in general theory. I love economics. It's one of those weird things that's uniquely DK. I love economics, and I'll just touch into like some economics 101 stuff here. But I think the first most important thing, general ideas, and I want you to talk about, as soon as I say this stuff, I want you to talk about specific applications and ways that you've seen this to be true or not true.
Okay.
But the first concept that I want to talk about is opportunity cost. Now, this is extremely important. Opportunity cost is extremely important in the sense that, potentially. So, for example, opportunity cost is if you, in the case of an engineer, right, or an artist or a producer. I lived in Utah, where rent was, it's a lot more expensive now, but when I was living there, even a couple of years ago, you're looking at like a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment for around $1,000, maybe a little bit more. So like relatively, not quite half, but relatively inexpensive compared to LA.
I mean, significantly inexpensive compared to LA.
Yeah. So, but I think that this is important to state. But opportunity cost is an actual calculatable number counted in dollars of the money that you can potentially make from opportunities. For example, in LA, how much more likely are you going to be called up last minute and booked for a session that is paid? What is the opportunity of working with bigger clientele? There's opportunity cost involved, and there's a whole science, and I'm not an economics
Would you factor
expert.
how much it costs you for each time you get called as well?
Yeah, exactly. So each call and how much that's worth. So there's a lot of opportunities here in LA that is a factor. And this is one of the big things that people continue to forget about, and I want to emphasize the importance of this. When I did the numbers, right, you type in rent, which is about double in LA compared to Utah. You do taxes, which is a little bit less than double, for sure less than double. You do living expenses like groceries and electricity and internet, less than double. Gas, still not quite double. Even though it's a lot more expensive here, it's still not quite double. Okay? So let's just round it out and say that it costs twice as much here, just for the sake of keeping this simple. Yeah. The opportunities that are in LA versus Utah is significantly more than double.
Oh, yeah.
The chances of someone having an artist with a lot of money and some major funding, whether it's outside or inside of a label that you work with that translates into your pocket, is significantly higher. Like if you have a label session, like Post Malone coming to Utah was one of the biggest deals ever. Our screen is going weird, but is one of the biggest deals ever. Like it was so big of a deal because no A or S tier artist has ever come to Utah like that, right? But in LA, all of those S and A tier artists and even B and C tier artists, they all live here. They're all just down the street.
Yeah,
and they all use studios around here.
Yeah, they all live around like 10 minutes away from even our location.
We've had this business now for less than 2 years. Actually, a year and a half, not even a year and a half. And
We've had many Grammy Award winners. We've had multi-platinum. Shit, we had a diamond artist that came through.
I'm on the Grammy board right now, and you're working on getting on the Grammy board.
Yeah,
and
I got the nominations. Just need to fill out the paperwork.
There you go. And then also, we've had big clients come in for the first time to test us out. Like, you don't just have a big label-funded artist come in willy-nilly because they found you on Google, but that happens in LA, and it happen to us.
It does.
And
in fact, who was it? Snot?
Snot has come in. Smoke Perp came in. Yeah, we've had Cash Page came in.
We had Chica.
We had Chica, and we've had a lot of names. So
Eric Bellinger.
And these are not names that you can just have in. Like we almost had Playboy.
Eric Bellinger.
These are names that didn't quite come in, but almost came in. Yeah. We've had almost Playboy Cardi come in. We've almost had Metro Boomin come in. And these are not people that were like, hey, like, well, you could depending on how I mean this, but I mean these are not people that I asked. For example, I didn't ask Playboy Cardi to come in. These are people that just like, oh yeah, I'm connected to him, and they do have a really great spot, and yeah, this happened. That's a dream in Utah. That's like impossible. We've had 3 interns now during this year and a half that has come in, and all 3 of them, or 2 of them, are no longer working at the studio because we gave them so many opportunities as engineers that they were making enough money to leave and do their own thing. One of them just moved to Atlanta.
Yeah, one of them moved to Atlanta. One of them is now flying around the world, literally working with 2 artists that he went from not knowing Pro Tools to becoming an A&R and an artist manager within 1 year. No, maybe a year and a half max. But we were talking about opportunity costs. Holy crap, a year and a half?
Yeah.
That's fast.
So I think that if once I crunch the numbers, and depending on what your opportunities are, right? For me, living in Utah doing music was significantly more expensive than living in LA and doing music. Significantly more expensive. And honestly speaking, I wish I had moved to LA years before. Well, I mean, I was in school, so I couldn't. But I wish that I would have been in LA a lot earlier. And so the second thing that is important let me back up a little bit. Lou, what do you think about that?
Honestly,
you're kind of giving your thoughts in between, but
I think this is actually pretty on point. Main reason is this: as an LA native, here's the funny thing. Remember how I mentioned that I like to work with people from out of town more than I liked people who are more native to this place? Is because there are also those who actually see the opportunity in being here, and they come with the hunger, and they're actually much more motivated. And because of that, they actually get the results they're looking for. If you put the work in LA, you can get the results. If you just go about it passively, like, sure, something can inevitably happen, but that's part of the opportunities out here. Even people who are acting passively will have success out here. You know how many times I'm not even like thankfully I built my name out here with many people, and the one reason I did that is for a long time people would ask me, they're like, oh, so what kind of engineering do you do? I'm like, you can consider me a Minuteman engineer. I'm the kind of guy that if you call at 3 a.m, I'm ready and available. That's how I got in the room with people like Ray J. I remember one night I got a call from one of the producers that I knew. He knew I was always willing to help, and he just knew I would answer my phone. So he calls me at 3 a.m. Literally, I'm in bed with Anna. He's like, hey, I'm at 17 Hertz Studio right now. My hard drive just went down. Could you help me out? I'm here at a major session.
17 Hertz? Is that the brown note? I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
I mean, possibly. I don't know. I don't know what the number is, but still. The funny thing is this. I went to the studio just to help a producer that I knew out. And the reality is I knew him as a friend. Just somebody that I got along with in LA. I knew he was successful, but I never expected anything out of it. Well, I went, helped him out with the hard drive, and I was like, cool, like, you good? And he's like, yeah, by the way, just so you know, there's a Ray J session that I'm involved in right now, and the engineer is getting tired. Like, if you're down, like, could you take over the session? I'm like,
that's incredible.
Sure. Yeah. And literally for the next 3 days, I worked with Ray J. But that's the thing. It was just on the whim. Why? Because I'm in town. I could help him out, but he's not going to call somebody in, and I'm just using Utah as the example, but he's not going to call somebody from out of state to show up to a studio in LA in a major session to help him out, because guess what? You know how much love the guy actually ended up having for me because I went to him to help him out when he was in a major session. Yeah. So now he's over here giving me opportunities to work in those sessions.
That's amazing. And I do specifically think that's because you lived here and were close and you were already there. And
exactly.
And I think the big part of this is that
it's the networking
these were
that
random.
helped.
It's not like, this is something that I think is incredible. I say no to more than half of the work that I get requested to do here.
Yeah.
And maybe that's bad on me, and I'm putting a lot of money, leaving a lot of money on the table.
I'll pick it up.
But there you go. And I have been able to, Lou and I, we've both been able to put a lot of money into other people's pockets because of the overflow of demand.
Yep.
Now,
Which is part of, once again, a reason to come here.
yeah, and which is part of that opportunity, right?
Yep.
So I think that that's important to say. In Utah, I was scraping by and grabbing 100%. I was forced to do 100% of everything that they asked me. Even if it was unreasonable, I had to do it or else I couldn't pay rent. Here, I could say no, and I'm fine.
Yep.
And I do think that that's incredible. And
Without asking specific numbers, if you can put it into a percentage of the rates you were charging in Utah, what would you say a percentage increase was when you got here and established yourself more here?
Okay, so let's just say that I'll put it simply. In Utah, I paid a little bit less than $1,000 for a building, a crappy building, nonetheless, for a building with 3 rooms in it.
Mm-hmm.
I rented out 2 of the rooms. I used one of the rooms for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I could afford that. That was fine. And I was able to pay my rent at home.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we pay here? For 2 rooms, we pay almost $5,000. Actually, we do pay $5,000 for 2 rooms here.
Plus storage and stuff.
Well,
but yeah, $5,000
about
total.
$5,000 total plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we pay a little bit, like $5,000-6,000,
Yeah.
and I'm still able to pay rent at home.
Yeah. I don't think neither one of us worries about that
And I think how much I take home is not
as relevant.
different.
Yeah.
You know, it's not well, like there's a little bit of difference there. Obviously, I'm taking more home here because
Yeah.
But at the same time, like
Your cost of operation is 5 times higher, not including employees, but yet we're still able to clear it with just as much work.
And granted, expenses are more, so there's some sort of like proportional data that we could put together. But yeah, I think that.
And here's the thing, guys. We're talking about $5,000, but that's because we decided to open our own commercial location. If you're coming out here as an artist, you're not opening a commercial location. If you're out here as a producer, maybe you get a studio to
And you
work
don't
with
have to
your
pay
clients.
$5,000. You could be at a much lesser
you
studio.
could be at a smaller spot.
we
but
have a nicer spot.
Yeah,
for sure.
our big goal in our partnership in this business is that we wanted a place for our clients to be able to work with us that wasn't home, and to be able to open up these doors to a lot of the professionals in our industry at a lower cost with higher quality with a community feel. Once again, commercial quality, community feel. The idea is to help the community.
Yeah, inthemixstudios.com. Anyway, I think the next thing about this quick economics term that's really important, and this, Gavin, is, if you're still listening, is very much pertaining to you. And I want to be careful with this. But one of the major rules of economics is forgetting lost money. For example, if you spend $1,000 into a stock,
Mm-hmm.
and you've lost money, let's say you lose $500, so you lost half of it. The basic rules of economics say, do not let the emotional loss, the emotions from losing, affect. Like, for example, the worst thing you should do, and any sort of economic statement, the worst thing that you could do is say, I've already put this much money into this. I'm just going to keep pouring more money into it because I think it can turn around.
Yeah.
So that's the worst thing that you can do. If you're losing money, you have to cut off lost profits or lost money, and not let the emotions of what you can lose dictate your next move. So in Gavin's specific sense, this is a very important thing. An economist, there you go, that's the worst. That's the words. An economist will tell you, Gavin, I know that you've spent that much money into a home, putting in a proper recording studio, and putting that much time and effort modifying and making the home beautiful. But if you find that there is potential more profit living in LA, then an economist will tell you, forget about how much money you've put into a home and go start anew in a place that has more potential.
I have this question. Maybe you can answer it, but maybe Gavin can shine some light on this. But at Gavin's level, what is the average budget for a producer of his nature in Utah?
I'm not sure.
See, the reason I ask is from what I've heard. Let's say Aphrodisiac by Nicole, which Gavin produced, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Okay. that record would probably sell for between $5,000 to $10,000, not including his royalties given up. So what would something like that sell for in Utah? See, the cost of a record out there would be significantly lower because the cost of operation is lower. The cost of opportunity out there is so expensive that, like, hey, we can't pay that much for this. Like, there's just not a lot of a music scene out here compared to in LA. But if you're in LA and you get in front of the right artists with records of that quality that actually have a budget, labels, half the time in my experience, if I charge up 200% of what my normal rate is, the label doesn't question it. Sure, I have to wait 30 days. Sure, I have to wait 60 days if it's an astronomical amount, but I've never heard the word no.
Yeah, and again, it comes back down to how quickly you run into.
He said $1,000 a song is what he charges.
Yeah,
if you were selling that to a label, you can take 10.
And I've heard as much. For example, like another good friend, Nate Pfeiffer, out in Utah. I've heard it. At least when I asked him a couple of years ago, he said he was charging like $2,000 a song. And there's a whole business of wealthy parents paying for their children. That's a whole business in Utah. I would say in most non-music and even music cities.
But the funny thing is, you find artists with budget left and right in LA, whether it's financed by an individual, whether it's financed by an independent label, whether it's financed on their own or by an actual corporate label. But the funny thing is this: anytime that I've worked with an artist that is actually signed, let's say when I was working with Ari at Dreamville, I remember their engineers at the time were getting paid between like $25 to $35 an hour. I walked in, I just helped them repair a studio. The SSL wasn't working, the barefoots weren't working, all kinds of stuff wasn't working before my session started. Upon fixing everything, obviously my value was shown. And when I was asked, like, how much do you charge? I'm like, I'm $50 an hour. They're like, oh, that's a little bit higher, but you know what? I don't mind. I'd rather pay a little more to get the right people involved.
Dope.
It wasn't a negotiation.
Yeah.
It just was okay.
Also, like, I will say, this is another opportunity thing here, which is crazy. This is just something that it still feels weird for me. But in Utah, I mean, anybody that has any kind of big money, you know who they are to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of randomly wealthy people.
Yeah.
But in LA, there are people ready to spend $10,000 on a song without even, that doesn't even hurt them.
It looks like they haven't showered in a week half the time.
And more importantly, and it may not, yes, I think it's partially due to income. Like, some people out here, like, making, it's a lot more normal to be making a lot of money out here. But I also think it's like the priority given to the arts.
Oh, yeah.
I think people out here are willing to pay more for arts because there's a lot more priority involved. There's just so much more priority in the arts than in Utah. So I think that this is a prime example, and I don't want to like start convincing. And the last thing that I want, okay, sorry,
Nobody's
I'm
saying
not stuttering.
move to
Let me control my thoughts here and organize my thoughts. The last thing that I want to say goes back to one of our first episodes that we ever did on mixing music. This is before you became a co-host. And I talked about my session with Mix with the Masters with Leslie Brathwaite. And in that seminar, which was almost 3 years ago now, I was one of two. I was one of the two, which was out of 12 people who Leslie didn't have feedback for a mix. It was good enough that he's like, this is a good mix. He doesn't have feedback for, and which was incredible to hear. Being told that
put a big old confusing smile on you.
Yeah, well, at first I was angry. You should listen to that original episode as I go into insight about that. But Leslie, I asked Leslie, and I asked him during that seminar, and I asked him later again at NAMM, and I think I've asked him a third time, and I've asked other people the same thing, and the answers are always the same. I said, Leslie, and especially because he knows what my mixes sound like, right? Leslie, I want to get better. After a certain point, how do you just get better? Like at an advanced level.
Yeah.
And he said, both times he said the same things. DK, sometimes it's not about getting better. Sometimes it's about where you live that is stopping you from achieving a higher level career and goals or income.
You know, honestly, that's very true. Because what I thought you were going to say is what I've heard in the past is get better clients.
Well, you can't really. Well, depending
Yeah,
on what
it's
better
obviously
means.
depending, but like let's say that you're a great mixing engineer, but all the content you're being given to mix is not necessarily of that caliber. It's obviously going to sound like your mixes are not of a great caliber. Now, when you're working with great caliber artists, great caliber producers with great sound selection, that also really helps in boosting your own morale.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. And that was a big part of the reason why I decided to move to LA specifically, is because Leslie had told me personally multiple times on many accounts, DK, it is not the mixing that you need to improve. It is the location that will help you improve your career and in turn your skill. So it was, and that was a big influence on my decision to move here, and a very personal one at the and I think the last thing that I want to say about this is that, for example, Gavin is married and has a lot going on, and
Nice.
I'm married and with kids, and there's many people in that are listening right now that have various levels of responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think that it is foolish to throw away responsibility in pursuit of some dream out here without any sort of structure or reason or plan. I don't care about the opportunity cost or anything that I said earlier if it's not planned out. So whatever you decide to do, whatever anybody that's listening decides to do, it is important to recognize that it is a very personal decision, and there are no faults in whatever decision you make. If you decide to stay in Wichita, Kansas, whoever's listening from Kansas, right? It is not bad to stay there. You're not losing, well, depending on how you look at it, you're not losing out on anything, because the only thing that you should be gaining from your doing music is enjoyment.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people at the same time that have moved to LA and have either was already making a living or then made it a living for music living that are miserable.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that pursuing music for income is, I don't think it's a bad goal, but I don't think that it's a necessary goal.
I hear
And
you.
I do think that it's never worth sacrificing enjoyment, peace, and self-love in exchange for moving to someplace for the clout.
Yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is, like, depending on where you're actually trying to move to and essentially stabilize yourself, you shouldn't necessarily just do because somebody told you to either. You have to really want to, because the last thing you want to do is arrive and be like, you know, I didn't really plan for this. I was just told that this was the right move, but I didn't really look
That's
into
that's a really bad.
like, yeah, like I've met a lot of people who told me, like, I was not like in your case where I was told to move here and then they just did. Obviously, you put some plans to it. I remember when we first started talking about building the business together, you had a set amount of goals that you were trying to hit within certain dates and all that. Obviously, life will let us know what if that's possible or not. But I've met a few people who they move here with no plan and they end up moving back like 2 months later. And it's like, what was the point?
And I think
you shot yourself in the foot.
And to piggyback on that, I think plans are important. But
they're
honestly
not-
speaking,
They're never 100%.
kind of going back to, and I really hope that this helps. And we're speaking to Gavin, which is funny because he's here in the chat. And again, you should join us on Twitch. Join us
Yes.
on Twitch, right? I'll even link the Twitch links on our mixingmusicpodcast.com. So by the time you hear this, you can go to mixingmusicpodcast.com and you can go to our Twitch accounts. And if you follow us, you'll get notified when we go live. Anyway, I think to kind of wrap this up is I'm a big fan of trusting your gut.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever that means, if you're a spiritual person or not, trust your gut. And if your gut is telling you you need to move to LA, then it doesn't matter what's out here or what's not. What matters is that you trust your gut. And if your gut, and if it mentally, if in your mind it makes sense to move to LA, but emotionally your gut says it's not quite time, then it's not quite time.
Yeah.
It's not quite time. And so I think that that's important to say. And again, it's not just LA, it's Nashville, it's New York, it's any big city that has music. And I really hope, most importantly, that everybody is able to find the balance and able to reach their goals and to allow themselves to enjoy whatever scenario they might be in. This is something that I believe in, and I will continue to promote, is this idea of looking for diamonds even if it's in your backyard. Yes, there are diamonds in that South African volcano site, but what's stopping you until you fly out to Africa volcano sites?
Yeah.
You can at least start digging in your backyard.
Yeah.
And you may not find diamonds,
But you'll find something quality.
but you'll find something. And I think that no matter where you are, you should be looking for diamonds. And I think that's a really great place to end this episode. I hope that many people kind of get to think about this and, not make any rash decisions, but put these thoughts into their next plan. So thank you so much for listening. Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Boom. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Noah says, I moved to Philly, and although I'm not making much more income yet, I definitely enjoy the scene here much more than my hometown.
Yeah, and I think like Philly's not even known to be necessarily like a big music town, but just
Even
where
then.
there's more people, the better, the more booming. Like, I mean, this is also just economics. The more booming a marketplace is, and an economic system is, the economic system, the marketplace of Philadelphia, is the more money there is in circulation, the more likely that they are to invest in the arts. People
I'd
are
invest
prioritize-
in a cheesesteak.
Yeah, and a cheesesteak. Also, I just realized there's some like wide angle distortion happening with the camera. So like
Yeah, that's why when I was there
my legs
earlier,
look
I was
really
like-
long. It's just
and
like
then I'm like suddenly really far away, and I have a tiny head and big body.
this is just kind of funny. But yeah, I think that. So Gavin said something important. He said, "Yeah, that is huge. There's a ton of money in Utah, but none of it's in music." Yeah, and I think that that's part of, because I don't think that there's a ton of money like LA ton of money. I think that
it's kind of funny because like I've sat down with people who found me on Craigslist looking for like a studio engineer to book and whatever, and I asked them, what is your budget for engineering? When they ask like, hey, do you have engineers available for hire? They're like, oh, $75 an hour. I'm like, that's a budget most people have to negotiate, like jumping right into that. And you found me on Craigslist? What the hell kind of Craigslist do you normally go on?
So I do think that that's something to take into account, but I don't think it's the end all. I don't think that people should just move to LA willy-nilly. And I do think that there's some timing involved. And I do think, unlike the
timing is huge.
I
If
do
you come
think
out
that
here during the fall,
and I'm to be fair, I'm not an economist. Economics
an economist,
and whatever the word is.
Necronomicon.
What the heck? But
Adult
economist. There we go. I'm not an economist, and so there's nothing in me that's telling you to drop everything, especially something that you've invested so heavily into your home, which is so beautiful, and you spent a lot of time building up the scene around you.
But don't forget, you can also rent your home.
I think that there's a clause for that. You have to live in it 2 years or something like that.
Oh, was it just purchased?
Yeah, they just purchased it. It's their first home.
Oh, yeah.
So like you can always rent it out. That's one option as well.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm not speaking from experience, so you should speak with someone that does rent out their home. So that way you pay off the mortgage, you keep the mortgage, and you just rent an apartment out in LA. And the mortgage pays itself off. That way you get to own the home and sell it off because real estate market in Utah is just ridiculous. So I'd leave your money in Utah real estate.
Yeah.
And I would just rent in LA.
Noah's asking what you know about cheesesteaks.
What you know about cheesesteaks?
I don't know much, which is why I'd probably invest in a good one.
Yeah, what do you know about cheesesteaks?
Yeah,
Tell us what you know about cheesesteaks.
I know about tacos. I mean, I do.
On that note, I'm hungry. I got to go home and edit these
Yeah.
videos now. And
My stomach's grumbling, so I probably need to eat before I do a live stream in 2 hours?
hey, Noah, on some real shit, how was this format?
Does it tickle your fancy?
How was listening to the podcast like this?
Does it give you butterflies? Does it give you a smile like DK's?
This is on some real shit. Yes, it was chill. Is
Nice.
that
I can't tell.
Is that a good thing? I hope it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I'm going to take it as a good thing. Although I don't give a crap. I'm not taking anything personally anymore. I don't give a
He's
crap.
just laughing at us now.
You could compliment me as much as you want. And I'm not taking it personally.
Hey, DK, you're beautiful.
I don't give a shit. I know I'm beautiful. I don't need you to tell me that. And I just kidding.
What is it? Easy Breezy CoverGirl?
Huh?
Maybe it's Maybelline.
What are
I
you
don't
talking
know.
about?
I don't know. Makeup brands. They're always telling people they're beautiful, and it's like, shut up. I know.
Okay. So
Yes.
hold on. Wait, I want to try something here. Let's see if this changes. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
good.
good.
It's a great way to build your Twitch while doing something you've been doing by recording the podcast.
True. Yeah. He's got us there.
Burp. Hold on, wait a second.
Slurp.
Did I freeze it? Oh, we're a little bit close now. So now
Oh, look at that.
there should be less distortion in the corners.
So now I'm just averagely fat.
Oh, actually, we should have done this from the beginning. We should have just gotten closer.
Yeah. Hey, look, you can make out the sign now. It doesn't look so far away.
What does that sign say?
It says, follow us on Instagram at inthemix.studios. #inthemix.
So I think we're going to end soon, unless there's any questions here. We're really grateful for all y'all.
You can ask about our shoe sizes or about audio stuff.
Hey, Lou, I'm gonna spend some coinage here
Oh,
and say posture check. Posture check.
wait, you can spend your own coinage on yourself? Is that how that works? I don't know how this works. I'm a new affiliate. I'm sorry. I'm just...
Wait, what? How what? You're what?
Like, you spent coinage on your own stream?
No. It's just you get membership points.
Oh.
So the more that you watch the same channel, you actually earn fake points. In my channel, you could customize the name of them. My channel is called Mixing Skill Points.
Okay, so I want some of these points. So I'm going to watch your
I have an
thing.
infinite amount of points because I'm the owner of the channel, so I can tell myself to posture check as much as I want.
Dude, you're going to tell yourself
But
to overhydrate. You're going
last
to die
time-
of water poisoning.
Last time Noah turned on Sing mode, and that cost 2,500 points because the dude has saved up like 8,000 points. And
Sing mode?
Sing mode makes he's gonna force us to. You better not touch that button. You better not touch that button. I see you, Noah. Get your fidgety fingers out of there. Don't
Let
you dare
me
click on
type
it.
out quick.
No!
Wait, did he do it? How do you know? All right.
Noah redeemed
So
Sing
what is
mode.
this sing? What is sing mode? Tell me about sing mode.
You have to sing everything. You're not allowed to talk no more.
You know, I think I do that every time somebody calls
You're
me.
losing, Lou.
Wait, I have to do it too.
Yes.
Why?
Lynn Hart, thank you for joining us.
Can we harmonize Lynn Hart?
Sing Lynn Hart.
All right, ready?
You go.
Lynn Hart.
Streaming like this is awesome.
Honestly, this can be cool.
This is gonna be cool.
I'm gonna have to do breathing exercise.
You wanna do the Wim Hof method with us?
Can you do it while singing?
All right. How do I get people to stop associating me with as a front of house engineer? I want to be associated as a mixing engineer, more than live sound, more than a
Guy.
live sound guy. I love.
We do too.
I love end of thought.
How
What do
long
you
do
love?
we have to do this for?
Call and response. Here we go. Ready? What do you love?
I love me.
What do you love?
I love you.
What do we love?
We love we.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love doing both, but I want to work more as a recording mixing engineer. All right.
I can speak on that
Was
one.
that a well worth 2,500 member points,
I hope so.
Noah?
Because I did not know I was included in the package. That should have been 5,000 points. Okay, sing mode off. Okay. It's like,
Okay,
I want
sing
a
mode off. That was
serious
great.
answer.
Good question.
Honestly,
Did you
like,
ask this before?
Well, I actually started off as a live sound engineer. People knew me more for live sound, and a lot of my credits came from live sound before they came from recording. But essentially, it really came off of Yeah, there's people that are going to know you for live sound for sure, and that's going to be surrounding your work. And obviously you want to work with some of those clients in the studio too. Now, the reality is sometimes getting your foot in the door means doing it for free sometimes, offering yourself as a resource, but, we don't always get paid right away, or the trust isn't always built right away. So what I did, and this is here we go.
Hello?
Does that correct
Oh,
the
my
issue?
bad. Yeah, it does. My
DK
bad.
over here muting mics.
Mad Mapper says, thanks. Just wanted to thank you for the podcast, guys.
Not a problem.
To thank for the podcast, guys. And Leaky Lou looks
Leaky
just like
Lou.
I imagined. Leaky Lou.
Why am I? Do I look leaky? Is that a
There we
poop thing?
go. Yeah,
Right.
finish your thought, though.
Okay, so basically, I don't know where it cut off, but I'll jump into saying the biggest get around that I had for that was not going after the clients that knew me as that, because they already knew me for a service, and unless they see you actively working in the realm that you're looking to convince them to work with you in, if their hang up is that you mainly do live sound, start doing recordings with other people. Offer yourself as an engineer for those sessions, even if it's for free, to build the trust first if you're trying to work with some bigger names. I remember getting in the room and getting to write songs with one of my fiance's favorite singers of all time, just by saying, hey man, I heard you're in town. My fiance is a huge fan. Just so you know, I noticed that you were...
Just so you know, I'm not. It's just my fiance.
No, that's basically what the message said. I was honest, and I believe in being honest. Like, hey man, like, I know you, but I'm not your biggest fan. But the cool thing was this. We actually had a blast working together, because guess what? He said yes. I offered him free studio time, and he's like, sure, yeah, let's do it. I'm in town, and I'm trying to lower my cost. So the reality is, if your current client doesn't want to work with you in the studio because he knows you mainly for live sound, then screw it. Doesn't really matter. But if you're looking to build that trust with them, show them that other people are hiring you. That will give them more confidence when they hire you, because they know that other people can trust you and that you've become a trusted resource in that realm. But yeah, honestly speaking, one of my favorite things to do when I was coming up was, I knew that I was in a position where an internship didn't necessarily benefit me so much. I remember going to an interview at NRG. I don't know if I told you, DK, but I went to an interview at NRG. I showed my resume for live sound and for recording with all my credits and everything, and I said, hey, I want to be an intern here. And they confusingly asked me, they're like, why? Like, what is the point of taking this huge step backwards? Why do you want to be an intern here? I'm like, well, I recognize that I don't have any ties to the studio, and I really would like to work with the studio, so I really don't mind working my way from the bottom up. I'm not looking for a position in the middle unless that's what's available and offered, but I understand the importance from starting from the bottom. And they told me that was actually a great response, just because the reality is, I may have credits with somebody else, doesn't mean it's relevant to the client I'm trying to work with.
Yes. All right, so I think we're going to sign off. But that was a really great question. No, I think that's something that you're going to have to continue to work around and think about. But I think this is the format we'll do from now on, just recording, because this makes the recording process, the filming process, a lot easier, as well as the recording process. This makes it really easy.
You know, I just thought of a really stupid Lou name.
What?
Lukey Day.
That was really stupid. Thank you. Lukey Day.
Yeah, instead of Lucky Day, Lukey Day.
Lukey Day.
The Mighty Lukes.
There you go. But I'm starting to get burned out. I need to eat some dinner. I still got to edit these videos and upload them for tomorrow, and then upload the podcast, the audio only as well. So I'm gonna go home and make some content. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, go follow Lou, twitch.tv/mastered by Lou.
Yep.
And he'll be on in a couple hours live.
Enjoy some mixing, mastering, and potentially some Pokemon or Smash or Tony Hawk. I don't know what games I'm gonna play after, but either way, mixing.
To answer your question from my perspective, I've never been a front of house engineer, but switching from tracking to mixing engineer, I think is the same thing.
Yeah.
Similar concepts here that I think that could help you out, Noah. And this is really hard. This is really, really hard, but I think that it's important that you do so. And unless you do rely on it, I think that is absolutely possible and important that you do everything. And that means, but from a branding perspective, to solve, from pragmatically speaking about branding, I suggest you don't ever do front of house ever again.
Or don't market that you do.
No. I'm well, in a best case scenario, I'm saying don't do it again. And I'm not saying that is your best case scenario, right? Like, and because you still have to have an income and whatever. But if you're able to, for example, when I stopped offering tracking was the moment that, as branding goes, people started respecting me as a mixer, and it shot up incredibly. And I got better at it because I was only focusing on one thing, putting experience, buckets, points into one basket. But more importantly, just because I said, no, I don't track, people just assumed I was a better mixer because I didn't have hands in other baskets. Now, I'm not saying that that's ideal for every scenario, but this is something that Leslie said as well. Leslie said that there comes a point where, like, it's important to track, and it's really important, but if you want to switch all of your clientele into a different form, then it is important that you stop and drop anything else. So, for example, but it's different. That doesn't mean, in this case, I think there's a lighter way to saying that, which is exactly what you were talking about. For example, I don't do tracking. I still don't do a lot of tracking. I do here and there, but I definitely don't offer it. And more importantly, I do a lot of mastering, but I don't want to be known to be a mastering engineer. But I don't talk about it. I don't really promote it. But I still do a lot of mastering for labels. But I think from a branding and marketing perspective, the theory goes, drop everything else. And I think that's really, really difficult. And I don't think you necessarily have to do that. There's definitely some balance there, but I think idealistically speaking, drop it. Don't do front of house again. If anybody asks, I don't do that. I mix. And slowly start to build your clientele that way. And that's like the most hardcore way to do it, but you can definitely do it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny though, because you think about people like Tizio, who is still tracking every time Chris is in the studio, but he's also everybody's mixing engineer. But it's because it took a long ass time to transition from being just the recording engineer, because Chris also had other mixing engineers before that. Like, I'm Keisha's recording engineer, but she still goes to Jason, Joshua, and other people to mix. So it's also trying to figure out where you stand for those clients. So that's why if you're trying to build trust, fine, work with other clients until they trust you because of those clients. And
I think part of the reason why dropping everything else is important too is a matter of real estate within the mind and priorities.
Yeah.
A priority real estate. For example, if you do offer front of house engineering, then those nights that you're running shows become potential nights that you can't say yes to a mixing client, or you're not spending time looking for a mixing client, or you may lose a simple opportunity that was on the spot, on the fly. And also front of mind, I think this is the biggest thing too. I've talked about this in previous episodes, on old episodes, but this is a thought that I had a couple years ago, which is I saw on the back of this moving truck, or it was a truck for Walmart or something like that, and it was advertising, we're always hiring truck drivers, and they pay like $80,000 or whatever it was. It was some sort of amount of money that was just like, wow, tempting. Why don't I truck drive full time and then do music on the side? And that thought came to my mind. And the big part of this, and the reason why that wouldn't work, is because as soon as anybody starts to do anything outside of what they want to do, like for example, if I start truck driving, I may have my money set in place. But now, all of how I think and what I'm thinking about is how do I better my experience as a driver? How do I make more money as a driver? And all of that mental real estate thinking about how can I make more money as a mixer is now reallocated into something that I'm not passionate about.
Don't forget that now you have a fear of losing that lifestyle to refocus into something you should have just kept your focus on.
Yeah. So again, there's a balance here. I'm not saying quit your only source of income if that's a source of income for you. But if you're doing it for free anyway, just quit it. Just don't even offer it.
Yeah.
Don't affiliate yourself from a branding perspective. Some marketing 101 for you. All right. Actually, that's technically PR. Well, and marketing and branding. Branding, PR, branding. Same thing.
Brandy.
So I think that's kind of like so you could trickle your way into that.
I think we're good here.
Yeah, I think we are. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate all of y'all. You want to turn on the iPad again? Play some outro music. Thank you so much for listening. Happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.